Aloha. I wanted to make a quick video and just make a point with a few examples of things that are very important in reference to everything as a whole, but specifically speaking to the so-called flat earth community and the so-called truth movement and all this stuff, and really look at the layers of information that is being shared right now. As we're talking about truth, as we're talking about flat earth, as we're talking about transhumanism, we're talking about humanity, we're talking about history, we're talking about those who have written history and those who continue to tell certain versions of history, which are the same individuals who are trying to tell a story of certain versions of the future, which is this artificial evolution program that is trying to move itself into this synthetic transhumanistic future. And the foundation to that space is, oh, everything is love and light and everything is nice, and it's basically the same foundation that is the setting of white privilege and the white supremacy program as a whole. And I speak on this specifically because it exists and it is the powerhouse that is driving this state of not questioning authority, not questioning the status quo, not questioning the people, the individuals, and the group mentality that has created this idea of the globe model, that has created this idea of NASA and the university system and the professors and the TV shows who put all these individuals on their shows to maintain the status quo of ignorance, the status quo of scientific worship, which is in a sense atheistic worship. And we continue to play these roles of whatever gets put out there for us is what we should be doing. And the game is for that whole system to protect itself, because they understand that they have the so-called they, which is one degree from one small degree away from realizing that this so-called they very definitely can have a picture. It can have a general, like a cartoon version of what it looks like, because you can factor in this so-called they can be very definitely narrowed down to ideas like the colonization program, the colonization of the entire world, and the destruction program. So what group of individuals run the Federal Reserve? What group of individuals do you see in the Senate? What group of individuals do you see in politics as a whole? What group of individuals do you see putting their flag on other people's land, saying that this is colonized land? What group of individuals have made you speak a certain language and has made that language very rudimentary, very just like basic and generic and ridiculous on so many levels when you see the level of connection that other individuals have when they speak different languages? And then look down on people if they don't speak English. And I'm not saying that I'll step out into that gray area of some people calling racism, but I understand the depths of what racism really is when you factor in prejudice and power. That is true racism. So I'm speaking on this to explain a point that most people are uncomfortable with explaining or even thinking about, because this program runs so deep within us. Like a large majority of us have turned into this scared, it's a fear program that gets manipulated on a regular basis. And when we get comfortable in this space of our owners, our slave owners, who provide us with the fiat currency, who provide us with the government, and who provide us with our roads and our bridges and our jobs and our this and our that. And when you factor in the point that this is a slave program on a large scale, they're not providing you with anything. They are they have set up a very complicated slave labor system that is designed for the slaves to enjoy and psychologically manipulate them to indoctrinate their children and future generations to play along with that game, from their birth certificate into the Maritime Admiralty law system, from their birth certificate to their Social Security card, to their kindergarten through 12th grade, to the university program, the conditioned mind, to within the globe model mentality, to getting your job and locking you into a conditioned grid, to making you feel like a certain way about not being married, not having kids, not having a job, not having all this stuff that's part of the system, not being a part of the status quo, not being a part of the cool kids who are so-called successful in whatever kind of caste system. And there's this haves and have-nots. And within that whole system is the white supremacy program. And you can see it being instilled in your psyche when you watch movies, when you see these so-called superheroes, when you see the television shows, when you see the bombardment of focus on race, when they're trying to say there's no focus on race, there's nothing wrong with this. Look, you have BET, you have black entertainment for you. So that makes everything else, just like there's a Black History Month. Like there's all these things that we celebrate, all these holidays, St. Patrick's Day, Thanksgiving, all these things have stories that are not far from the surface that people can realize are full of shit and actually anchored in a very destructive program, down to the very ways that we experience time itself. The way the calendar that we use comes from ancient Greek and Roman time frames. That the relationship we have to the sun and the moon is a direct relationship that is an indirect relationship that we have as human biological beings. When you hear a biological clock, it's the same relationship we have to time itself, which is the way we experience the physical reality, life itself. And all of these, every single perspective is addressed in this slave program, so people will not challenge, or at least challenge the system, or at least challenge themselves to understand a creative space, a meaning, a purpose, and ways to exist on this earth plane outside of the manipulative slave program. So everything is designed to create a system where, this is why they talk so much about jobs in politics. We need more jobs. We need $15 an hour. We need all this. It's just a constant bombardment of love the system, be a part of the system. So you see all of these trending topics. It's an algorithm. It's a very definite algorithm to see like all this stuff here, like this is they show information that is supposedly against the system, but it's just another way to make you believe in the system. So they tell you things that are wrong with the system, and they amplify things that are part of the system, and you believe it. You fit somewhere in between because it's entertaining, or you like this or you like that. It's a total bombardment. This is why Hollywood is so mixed like that, but it still has a focus of the European superhero, for one example. But it's really everywhere, every single channel, every single station. Your commentators, your referees, your dignified individuals. It's all a colonial program, and we act like it doesn't exist. And I'm speaking this way because it goes down from even how we call America. Yeah, America is not America. America is America. America is not the United States. The United States is the United States, a small little chunk of America. But you see how they have to bulk up themselves, like, to make it bigger. But they're never speaking about Brazil, Peru, Colombia, Guatemala, Mexico, Canada, Argentina. They're not speaking of all these other American countries when they reference America on the mainstream circuit. In fact, they never even say the United States. they because it's just too small. So yeah, basically it's just it's a bombardment of every angle, and it's a slave program. And the new slave program, the old slave program, is based on fear. It's based on God fearing, fear your government, fear this, fear that. And the new slave program that's being sold to individuals is this transhumanistic movement. This transhumanism is now trying to be promoting this artificial connection to a God, and this new God is going to be something that you can love, and it's all light, because the God before was a God you should fear, and that lend a foundation for why things were so fucked up, is that you can just fear because you already have a fear that's rooted in your spirit. Now you can have a fear that's rooted in your physical reality. And that's why we're all at war, because we have it rooted in God itself. But now they have to start to lighten things up and sell you a new version of your spirit. This is why they're coming out with all this Scientology bullshit, these new religions, these new ways of experiencing your reality, talking about the fake ass, the fake perspectives of, like, the secret perspective of the law of attraction, instead of looking at the depths of it. Just like these artificial versions of stuff like the Mandela effect, instead of going into the connections of us and our connections to each other, consciousness as a whole. That information is being subverted to CERN, and there's a timing here. CERN is no different than NASA. So people are talking about the Mandela effect, and specifically relating the Mandela effect to only CERN. There's something there. There's something I see that something's off with that, because CERN is no different than NASA. So if you're not going to give any power to NASA and all the shit all the total lies that they've put out there, it's the same scientists, it's the same university system they need to sell you this dramatic version of your reality in order to make you buy into this system. And within that dramatic version of the undertones, they have to sell these distraction modes, and stuff like this is distraction. And they mix in stuff that is also part of the foundation program. So they'll put in, like, Elon Musk in here. They'll put on little science things. They'll put on some NASA stuff. They'll put on a bunch of sex programming. They'll put on like this. This is a sandwich almost destroyed a space capsule. So this is talking about Apollo 16, a cartoon, a 1 minute and 52-second cartoon that that talks about an astronaut who took a corned beef sandwich into space on Apollo 16. And then they say, oh yeah, he then walked on the moon. So everything was okay. 1 minute and 52 seconds, you are programmed to believe in NASA. And they share different types of these videos every day. This is an algorithm. So they put one or two of these on the trending page so you believe this shit. But this story, talking about NASA and talking about Apollo, it's no different than Shaq, the vibration of Shaq stories, the vibration of talking about cartoon cats, the vibration of Superman and Batman, the vibration of Pokemon. All this stuff is the same mainstream story. So this is right in our faces. NASA is as ridiculous as Pokemon, Sailor Moon Cafe, this UFC shit, X-Men, Megan Fox, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, hot dogs running down a racetrack on Fox Sports. It's a patriarchal program, obviously. Obviously, they're keeping people out of balance, focused on sex, focused on distraction, focused on the system itself, very definitely focused on a limited version of your reality. This is mind control on a massive scale, down to the way we even envision ourselves, our family, our culture, our history, so on. So when I go into this space of realizing how large scale this program goes, and realize that it's nobody's fault, like today, like this goes back so far, you can't really blame it on any individual. Like for me, I don't blame any individual because everybody's bought into a trickster program that we call the mainstream, that we call the colonial system, that we call so-called civilization, that we call the university program, that we call NASA and the globe model and public education and the white supremacy program as a whole. We've all bought into this because these have been our artificial caretakers by creating this synthetic version of our reality that maintains them as the victors and us as the ones who have to be taken out in order to maintain their life. We are the batteries for the machine that they have created to manipulate our minds. And now it's not up to us to destroy anything or destroy anybody, because this system alone is already imploding on itself. We are creating an understanding of ourselves and a connection to our creator, our meaning and our purpose that is beyond these limited versions of experiencing our reality. And when we go into expanding our consciousness and expanding our reality, that system, the artificial synthetic system, will naturally decay, which we can see right now. People are slowing down on eating fast food. People are slowing down on listening to the bullshit on TV. People are slowing down on engaging in this bullshit reality. People are eating more organic food and questioning genetically modified stuff. They're questioning chemtrails. They're questioning more as a whole. And that is enough to realize that things are changing, because once people start questioning their reality, they have to provide some answers, and those answers will inherently bring down the artificial answers that have been downloaded into our reality for centuries, for eons. So it's like a double movement toward back to ourselves, back to the Most High. And the opposition program is to sell you a deeper layer of separation. This is why there's no God, there's no Most High in the science community. There's no space in there because they have to make themselves out to be those gods in order for you to believe in the almighty system that has been created. And deeply rooted within this system is the fear of white genetic annihilation, which goes into some of my latest videos where Dr. Francis Cress Welsing was speaking on the essence of the white supremacy program. Like there's a storyline within the supremacy program. It's not just, the fear exists there because if you were to look into any of these stories of where this stuff is rooted, when you're talking about racism, when you're talking about sexism, when you're talking about why individuals were castrated, specifically black people, why and how that hasn't happened to any other, like you don't see that happening to white people. You don't see black people castrating white people. Like there's a reason why this happens. There's a reason why there's so much hatred coming from the supremacy program that felt it necessary to legalize lynching people, specifically black people. Not that long ago, our government was lynching us. This is a system that is still alive today, and you can't even speak on it. So this video speaks about roots and Snoop Dogg recently came out, and I've done a few videos saying the same kind of thing, but I'm speaking about I want to take it a step further than Snoop Dogg takes in here, because the Young Turks are part of this orchestrated version of sharing information, and they are just sharing another version of limitation bullshit, slave master mentality. They're totally backing up Bernie Sanders. It's a total bullshit program, and it really pisses me off to see the arrogance of them backing up this slavery program as if it doesn't exist, and saying, oh yeah, well, he has the right to think like, ha 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 ha, like, you know, I mean, this is good information when they have Roots on there. No, there's a definite reason why they are remaking Roots. There's a reason why there's only slave movies on TV right now. There's a reason why. It keeps you in a vibration of control, of second nature. It keeps you in this vibration of lack. It keeps you in a vibration of just self-destructive and subliminal messaging that allows the outwardly European versions of our entertainment world, our education system, to keep on going the way they are, to keep people believing in this system, keep people voting, keep people not questioning the system as it is, not questioning why things are happening, why people are still being lynched on the streets, only with bullets, only with the police system. This is no different. Why the system creates a system for us to fight ourselves within the inner cities. Like, this is a system that is designed. It's not a fucking mistake. It's not secondary. It's not a thing that just happened. It is a design. And when we only focus on the so-called love and light, on this is just about connection and peace and all this shit, you are missing out on a very important part of the whole story, which is also a design to keep the old program going. So when we're talking about flat earth and we're only talking about NASA, you're only talking about flat earth clues and all this shit, and not talking about the creator connection, the meaning, the purpose, the humanity, the storylines within humanity, the storylines of why there's a flat earth here, there's a meaning, a purpose, and why the globe model exists in order to keep us from realizing what happens when the globe model exists. Why does the globe model exist? Why was that created? And why and what is going on as it's created, as a result of its creation? Who has benefited? Who? Look at these stories and ask yourself, and who has been slaughtered, who has been genocided, who is being poisoned consistently even today. It is directly related to these slave programs. It is directly related to why Roots is on TV. It's directly related to the white supremacy program as a whole. If you don't see that, if you don't look at your professors in the university system that back up this globe model, if you don't look at all of this stuff and connect it yourself, then you are doing things that are no different than the same people who are maintaining this slave mind, this globe model mentality, that are consistently moving this artificial evolution to a self-destruct mode, individually and collectively. It's a chess game that's being played, and we are the ones playing it on an individual scale and a collective scale, because we don't understand how deep this story goes into our blood and into our connections as humans as a whole, where we come from, who we are, how far this storyline is going. The whole white privilege part of this storyline is wanting to play only one version of the story, because they want to protect themselves. They want to protect this whole thing. And I wanted to give an example of, now I'm not even going to go into that. I'll just reference it because I made a video called speaking on vegans and the supremacy program, and Patricia Steer commented on it and said something about, let me go to it. The supremacy program you speak of is humans thinking they're superior to other humans and to animals. So we fight and kill, all unnecessary. Everything is backward. Fighting and killing is wrong. It says some other things. She's totally against, killing, and obviously just some very basic shit, some obvious shit about like how killing is wrong, and it's all about love and connection. This obviously cut it off. My basic point is that I responded with, we can't just say fighting and killing is wrong. Some very fucking obvious shit. We have to understand why this supremacy program was created, why it was up there. We have to go into the fact that the supremacy program exists, why it exists, what it's connected to, what are the actual details there. My point for showing that is that she deleted that comment after I responded to that comment twice, talking about the existence of white supremacy and the fact that if channels like her would expand and go into speaking about stuff that is outside of their channel comfort levels and start talking about things that are directly related to the reasons why NASA exists, the reasons why the university program exists and the globe model exists, and why the all this stuff that exists that's part of the flat earth mentality. If they were to expand their channels and speak on this stuff instead of acting like it doesn't exist, instead of acting like they don't understand that this information exists, then information would move a lot quicker. A lot of people who are looking at this information will be able to piece together how these storylines are connected, instead of being caught up in this bubble this distractive cloud of, oh, everything is beautiful, everything is just love and connection, everything is just, I'm so happy that we found the flat earth. We found the flat earth. You found the flat earth. We found the flat earth. It was a good job you finding the flat earth. How did you find the flat earth? Flat earth is beautiful, isn't it? Oh, it's so wonderful. It's so beautiful. Meanwhile, people are getting shot, killed, poisoned every day. Every day there's a storyline every moment that we're speaking on this shit. Somebody is being killed as a result of this same program. There's no you see this globe? Look at even in the Young Turks. There's a fucking globe behind this video. It's ridiculous. Like this is everywhere. Everywhere there's a conditioned program. And if the so-called flat earth community can't step their game up to look even further into what's going on and stop running away from these storylines, or stop running away from speaking on this stuff by deleting comments, you're deleting information. You're the one who reached out and commented. You made the comment to share information and to add to the conversation. And then when more information and more adding to the conversation was out of your comfort zone, you delete the thing. That's the essence of this privilege program right there. Oh, I don't agree with that, so I'm just going to delete this. It doesn't say what I like to say. You're putting a different whatever on what I'm saying. That is the essence of the white privilege program, which is the essence, the top layer of the supremacy program. Power, the power to do something. It's a structure. And we act like it don't exist. And I could go into a lot more about that comment and her deleting that comment, but I'm not going to go in there yet because it pissed me off so much, but I had to at least reference it because I wasn't the only one who responded to that comment. There was another individual who agreed with me and what I was saying. Let me just play that so you can at least see that it's not about you. So this individual wrote, it's once again, you are so on point, not to like fluff my feathers or anything. I'm just explaining like the conversation, the information, being able to speak on this stuff is what we're doing here. If you're on the internet sharing information about flat earth and all this stuff, you're doing this so you can help people see information. So he obviously replied to the same thing, her comment. Once again, you're so on point with your perspective. Far too often, I think people resist looking too deeply into the opposition viewpoint of that which they do not agree with, as it is easier to follow ignorance and close the door of opposition. I believe this action of ignorance is a product of a fear-based mentality, which is the essence of the fear program, the supremacy program, which we have all been programmed with as a natural reflex to that which we oppose. That was just one other comment that was left, and this was within this was a few hours. I responded to her comment within 45 minutes, and then she responded right back with a quick little, oh well, if you're I'm just saying I'm against killing as a whole, but if you say something different, whatever it was some quick little like arrogant little response to this giant response that I had to her trying to tell me, this is basically her trying to tell me, oh, this is the supremacy program you speak of is humans thinking they're superior to other humans and to animals, telling me what the fuck I'm saying. She's telling me what the fuck I'm speaking of instead of just sharing her perspective. No. She says the supremacy program you speak of, telling me what this is, taking that position and then just being like, oh no, this is what it is. Instead of creating a dialogue of, sharing information. This is that privileged mentality that's out there that we don't address, that we don't talk about. And I responded to her telling, no, the supremacy program that I speak of is exactly how I spoke of it in the video. And here's some referencing of other ways you can hear the perspective of the supremacy program that I speak of when I reference Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. Because my information comes from her opening up that rabbit hole for me to look into how deep this goes. She goes into the psychological programming of children, to the psychological programming of entire races of people all over the world. That's where I'm coming from. I'm not coming from this animals and humans. That's a generic ass bullshit way to experience. That's like kindergarten perspectives on understanding your reality. That's not where I'm coming from. If we stay in that basic layer of understanding instead of challenging ourselves to possibly disappoint ourselves in order to tap into the truth of the matters on a deeper layer and possibly lose some of our artificial privilege to begin with, if we don't challenge ourselves to go that far, then we ain't doing shit. We're not going anywhere. We're just making videos about nothing. Just doing shit. So, yeah. Anyway. So yeah, that exists and it's everywhere. Even in the so-called flat earth community, you can see it. There are things they don't talk about. There are things they don't want to talk about. There are things they probably don't know about. Which is why I share a lot of the stuff that I've come across to help people see other stuff. And then it gets deleted because people are not comfortable with that. Or they're stuck in a fear mentality. And that's fucked up. Especially if we're in this information sharing community. That's fucked up. So, because I'm not the only one that responded, and there's other people that could have got some very good information from reading those comments or from adding to that conversation. But since it didn't look good for you, you had to delete it. So, anyway, the mainstream layer of that storyline expanding to, because that was just like an individual example of what happens on the bigger program, which is like the Young Turks and the mainstream media. We don't speak on stuff and we only show certain versions of the storyline. This Young Turks is like the same type of storyline, selling a mid-level version of your reality. Oh yeah, everything is okay, just keep believing in the system. He's okay for saying that Roots is not good. I understand where he's coming from, but it also does good things. It does good things to play Roots. You have to look at the history. They don't want to go into the depths of history. Even Snoop Dogg is talking about, we need to talk about like what's happening with black people today. We need to talk about like what's good today. Like we are successful today. Like even that shit is missing the point. If we don't understand where the fuck we came from, if we don't understand where the fuck we were before any of these supremacy programs and the reason why they got to play Roots on a regular basis, if we don't understand where that stuff comes from before that, then we're going to be missing the whole point. Who gives a fuck how we're doing within this supremacy system? We need to start talking about what existed before this program. And this is why people like the Young Turks pick up these storylines because they can mold it. They can get it and they can talk about it because somebody else said it and they can just add to it. But this is why it gets picked up, and you can see what I'm talking about right now.
No disrespect, but I can't watch no motherfucking more black movies where niggas getting dogged out, 12 years a slave, Roots, Underground. I can't watch none of that shit.
True.
I'm sick of this shit. How the fuck they
all this stuff is true.
Memorial Day? They gonna just keep beating that shit in our heads of how they did us, huh? I mean, I don't understand America. They just want to just keep showing the abuse that we took hundreds and hundreds of years ago. But guess what? We taking the same abuse. Think about that part.
True.
When y'all gonna make a motherfucking series about the success that black folks is having?
See, this is
the
where
only success we have is Roots and 12 Years a Slave and shit like that, huh? Fuck y'all, I ain't watching that shit. And I advise you motherfuckers that's real niggas like myself, fuck them television shows. Let's create our own shit based on the day. How we live and how we inspire people today. Black is what's real. Fuck that old shit. Right, Jules?
True. See, now this is, it's not true. This is where it gets like complicated because and this is where the new storyline, the malleable storyline gets played for us to sell in the next agenda. They sell you stuff that's not true in order to give you a solution to the stuff that you were addressing in the beginning of the video. So, but when you miss the whole point, he's talking about existing within the system. Not everybody thinks like that. Not everybody is focused on that. There's a deeper layer of understanding your reality that exists outside of this bogus ass system. That so-called success with that's bullshit. That's total fucking bullshit when you look at the fact that people were draped in gold before this program exists. That this program as a whole that we're so-called successful in is full of shit and is designed to keep us in that world. So I'm not saying one way or the other as far as personally where Snoop Dogg comes from in speaking on whatever. I'm sharing this as an example of how these stories, these individuals get manipulated, their storylines get manipulated to sell a deeper agenda, a deeper layer of programming. And you can see how they flip it with their privilege, like, oh, ha, ha, ha. And I don't even give a shit about what you say about Jank is not, he's not white. He's whatever from Turkey or some shit. I don't give a fuck. I said before in other videos, white is not related to skin tone. White is a fucking mentality. And Jank is one of the whitest motherfuckers that is on the internet right now. And you can, this arrogant ass tone, this just like, oh, this Neil deGrasse Tyson fucking bullshit is what is feeding the system as a whole. And then they just play back and forth off of each other saying, yeah, he's right, but he's wrong. Yeah, he's right, but he's wrong. Oh, and in the end of the video, we're right. Ha 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 ha. Next video, next subject, next topic. This is just a news story for these people. This is all a game that they play on a regular basis when we need to see the entire system as a whole. So you can see, I'll play a little bit.
Okay. Well, he does keep it real. Yeah. You have to give him credit for that.
I love anyone who tries to make a persuasive argument by referring to the people he's speaking to as motherfuckers.
Yeah. And
see, they focus. You can already see where they're going. You can already see where they're going. The way they've taken position here. And I'm not going to play the rest because it just pisses me off. It's not even worth it. But they're just going to play on what specifically he spoke of. He's like, yeah, they're going to say stuff like, it's a good thing that the movies are out there because we need to know our history. And yes, we should focus more on the success. And no, I don't think that there's only white success stories out there. There's some black success stories out there. Missing the whole point of the whole system being designed to show you the argument that exists. That is, yes, there's only success stories for one type of individual and only failure stories of another type of individual. And the bigger point, never speaking about the golden ages of the indigenous aboriginal peoples, the peoples that existed the pre-Columbian stories. Those stories. These punk ass shows that get on here and talk about Bernie Sanders and how great all this shit is never want to go into the depths of pre-Columbian history. Ever. And when even down to the damn hot potatoes bullshit we're talking about within the flat earth. They don't want to go into these storylines because they will become irrelevant. Their perspectives will become irrelevant if they hold that shallow layer of system, those shallow roots, instead of being uprooted and understanding that they have to go a lot deeper. And if the fear is, if they uproot and go deeper, they will lose privilege. They will lose artificial power. They will lose a lot of things, comfort space. They will lose a lot of this stuff. But the thing is, we are not the same as the individuals. I'm talking about we as the pre-Columbian peoples are not the same. We will not be the same as the control grid here that has been set up. We're not talking about, there's no comparison there like we compare individuals and systems today. There's no comparison there. This system is totally designed to control, to protect itself. It is not at all designed to exist peacefully. It is not designed at all to utilize the connection to a most high space. It is a total separation from the harmonics of nature and a celebration of that space. And these TV shows, these so-called news shows, they are designed, whether they realize it or not, to totally keep that separation program going. And fighting the system and that whole shit, there's no, it doesn't make any sense. It only makes it stronger. The only way that you can fight that system without fighting it and expand within your own power is to understand your roots, the depths of this story, and that will inherently expand the space for people to create whatever it is that we're going to create as a connected people. That's first, one step at a time. We can't be looking at the future and all this other stuff in relation to excuse me, in relation to like that is the distraction program. That's also part of the separation program, to get caught up outside of time. Be focused on a shallow perspective of history, get out of your present space, and focus only on this future. And that's a limbo space. That's where this separation program wants us to be. But if we find our presence in the moment, if we understand the depths of the truth in our history, then the so-called future that is harmonically linked in with nature and exists outside of this control grid, it will present itself as we understand first those two spaces. And this distraction, these news, these NASA programs, these trending, this mainstream shit is designed to keep us from doing that. So, one step at a time. It's pretty much all I had to say about this. So thank you for joining me. Until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.